warm welcome to all the participants, including the speakers, for this 3-day international virtual workshop on research, writing and publications in high impact journal. So I would like to introduce Professor Dr. Balakrishnan Parasuraman, my good friend, my senior at the University of Science Malaysia during our undergraduate studies. And he'll be speaking for this slot, for the first slot, and followed by the other two speakers later, all right? Okay, Professor Dr. Balakrishnan Parasuraman, his academic background, he has a PhD from Wollongong University, Australia, Master Science, Human Resource and Industrial Relation from University of Stirling, United Kingdom, Bachelor of Social Science Honours, majoring Economics from University of Science Malaysia, Diploma Education from one of the Teachers Training Institute in Malaysia, Advanced Diploma Coaching and Mentoring from Ministry of Human Resource Malaysia, and also Certificate of Higher Education from University of Malaysia, Sabah. His academic and industrial and community experience are very huge, very wide. If you look at the CV he gave me, let me read out so that we know who is Dr. Bala. Of course, he's very familiar to our conference all the time, and he's also the patron of this workshop. He has more than nearly 30 years experience in the university, including 17 years in University of Malaysia, Sabah, and also now at present, he's a professor of Human Resource Human Resource Management and Industrial Relation at University of Malaysia, Kelantan, in East Coast, in Peninsular Malaysia. He's also the president of Malaysian Industrial Relations and Human Resource Association, MIRHA, fellow National Human Resource Center, HRD Corp, Ministry of Human Resource Malaysia. He's also the advisor of Bursa Young Investor Club, UMK, patron and advisor of Lavender Literary Club, India, and he is also a member, committee member in the National Productivity Culture Malaysian Productivity Corporation, MPC, since 2021. He's a Senate member of University of Malaysia, Kelantan, since 2021, a representative of Senate member of Library and Knowledge Management, adjunct professor at Cyberjaya University, Malaysia, adjunct professor of Malaysian University of Science and Technology, MAS, Malaysia, adjunct professor of Masa University, internal auditor at HELP University, University Utara Malaysia, Multimedia University for bachelor program, DBA program at Cyberjaya, and diploma in business in Wawasan University. He's also the founding head of International Office in UMK, Malaysia, Director of Industrial and Collaboration since 2016-2018, Deputy Director of Student Affairs, University of Malaysia, Sabah, Technical Committee and National Consultative Wage Council in Malaysia, Co-Chair Workers Participation Study Group, research grant. He also got many research grant from few universities. He's also got an industrial research grant from Sarawak, and he has published. So he's the right person for this starting slot. He has published more than 18 books and 18 books and more than 200 articles in refereed journal proceeding, short articles, including index journal in high impact journal like Scopus and ISI, and also he's a very familiar face in the TV in Malaysia. Invited panel expert in TV and radio talk in RTM, TV3 in Malaysia, and he also formerly was a school teacher in SMK Tawau, the SMK Abdullah in Sempurna, Sabah in East Malaysia. So this is all his wide knowledge, experience in the profile. So I would like, with pleasure, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Balakrishnan Parasuraman, one of the patrons for this international virtual workshop, to have his slot. I think on the topic will be, I think, good publication for good research, something related to publication. All right, Prof, I hand over the floor to you, Prof. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ganesan, and also thank you, Gino, for the moderating, to be a chairperson for today, and also thanks, Dr. Ganesan, moderator for this evening to introduce me. Actually, I don't want too long, but it's okay. At least what this is a professional group of people. So at least Dr. Ganesan was briefly so that all of you can follow us lah in the past. I think myself and Dr. Ganesan, we are studying in the same university, University Science Malaysia. He was my junior, and he's one of the top historian lah. I'm not saying that we're not praising ourselves, but we are actually looking at our expertise. So although we are friends, but he's one of the leading scholar in history. Especially looking at the history of Malaysia and Southeast Asia and others, and also labor history. That I recognize his expertise lah. So he also long serving in the government sector as a teacher, and scholarly now working as in the college. So thanks, Doctor, for the introduction. So as a introduction, before I show my slide, so as a patron for this, I think myself was introduced by Dr. Ganesan and through Dr. Frank. So otherwise, I don't know about these workshops. So I really grateful and appreciate and thankful to Dr. Ganesan who are inviting me to introduce this group of professionals. So first of all, I like thanks to Dr. Frank, who's the president on the Lavender Literature Club of India, and he's the president, and also CAP Comrade Club, Dr. Regina, and of course myself and Dr. Ganesan was in Mirha, Malaysian IR. And I really thanks to Dr. Frank also and Dr. Regina, because they are working under the at the back of the stage lah. They're all the people who are actually organizing, and they're very active actually, Doctor. Every month we got webinar, so I was like, I don't know, suddenly the thing. So I think as a patron, and Doctor is the chairman for this conference, virtual international conference, that we are focusing on the research writing and publication high impact journals. This time around we talk about high impact journals. And of course, as a scholar, what Doctor introduced about myself, I normally know boasting myself. I don't want to show everything, but because of professional, we are all professional. So you can see as to be a lecturer or scholar, you must have a multiple task to be a scholar or a professor. So your aim actually to be professor. That is your final ambition. Everybody start as a career as a lecturer, of course, end up with a professor. But to be a professor, publication is only one indicator, not totally indicator. Please, you all take seriously on my advice here, because I, Dr. Ganesan, going to be retired soon. I have another 4 years to go. I'm not young. I said, look at me, look young, but we're not young. We are going to finish soon our retirement, and I will pass the baton to the people like you all, Dr. Frank, Dr. Gina, and many of you here. I see your face, all very young scholars. So although we are different countries, but the whole world actually only one vision, one vision as academic. That is a publication. But before you go on the publication, of course, you have a research lab. So I have shown my slide. Doctor, you allow me, Dr. Ganesan, you allow me to show the slide. If okay, then let me know.
Okay.
Can you see that? Can you see that?
Not yet.
Is it okay? I think the slide already there already.
Yeah, coming. Wait.
Yeah. I think already on the screen now. Can anyone see the slide now?
Yes, sir. We can see.
Okay. Oh, thank you. All right. So after I opening the officially this international webinar on publication, I would like to share, because as a professor, research professor, and also someone already in the field of academic for a long time, I would like to say why publication and why research. So research and publication very much interrelated. A good publication is come from the good research. All right. That's why we got undergraduate final year project. We got masters by research. or MBA by research or whatever. And then we got a PhD, we got the DBA. Now today, we discussed at the Senate meeting. Our university introduced PhD, industry PhD, right? And in so many things, doctorate level. So that is one part. But as a scholar, you need to also get the grant. So no grant, no publication. You cannot have a good publication without grant, because you don't have any grant, research grant, then how are you going to publish? And of course, you need a very good team, all right? Like myself, Dr. Ganesan, although we are, different field, I'm more on the labor, I'm more in the labor, industrial relation, and also HR, but I invite Doctor to be in my team, right? To be in my team, okay? So why I encourage to multidiscipline? Because I look at that, I have additional publication, work with others. That is secret. That is some kind of tips for you. I like something. I see many of you come, but you come and go. That's all. You don't have any communication with the speakers or among yourself. So we are not teacher. Actually, we are friends. We are friends. We are not coming here we are good friends, good scholarly friends. So you need to have a connection faster. And okay, me and Dr. Ganesan separated for a long time. I think almost 20 years, I believe, Dr. I believe he was doing PhD. He contact me, and then we start communicate. After that, the time after COVID-19 or before, we start engage. We are good friends. Okay, we just go for dinner together and all this. But the moment I met him, I said, Doctor, why not we write something? And then he said, okay, Prof, I think I have idea on the labor history. And he got it from the extract from his PhD. And then I said, okay, I got a labor expert, industrial relation. We joined together, something come out. And I was so wonderful. He already published in journal. I think Doctor will share maybe some other days. So it's like friendship, but become publication. And one day, Doctor introduced my university mate. We studied together, Dr. NR, and we are never met for 25 years. So Doctor said, Prabala, I will make a meeting between you and Dr. NR. And we meet in the coffee bean, small coffee, one of the coffee shops. I think you all know coffee bean, it's Starbucks in Kuala Lumpur. The moment we met, we are friends. Okay, of course, we're sharing. Dr. NR was English and also education side. You know what happened on that particular coffee, having coffee, or we have light food. We are sharing all our past experience in the university. When undergraduate, suddenly come in mind, hey, why not we apply grant? And I said, Doctor, you can apply matching grant in your university. Matching grant means you have certain money, I have certain money. So we got 30,000. Hey, good idea. And that time I was the director of industrial linkages and all this. So we are actually promoting matching grant. Because to get a grant, not that easy. We have to compete. Suddenly, UTP is the number one university. Everybody knows UTP is a university Petronas. Petronas means national oil industry. The biggest oil industry, they also have a university. And we are the entrepreneurship university. They are private, we are government. Merged together. Friend is friend. We are together study. So we're good friend, but suddenly, and wonderful. We matched together 60,000. And at the same time, doctor said, why not Prabala come and join me? Another grant, national grant. And then first time we applying, also we got it, the grant. So amazing that, that is how we get, and we publish many papers in the Scopus after the grant. So what I'm trying to say is, all right, research, publication, and the award, all this. So you can see on the screen now. So I not work just in the one country, but I go abroad, outside my country, especially my neighboring country, like Indonesia, or maybe Brunei, or whatever country. So I work with Dr. Ariana, you can see it on the picture. We met long time ago when we do PhD. He was in Queensland, I was in Wollongong, in Australia. But after that, we become friends. So myself, always I want to be friend. I also work as a team in academic. So me and Dr. Ariana was published many papers together, and he was one of the top university in Indonesia. University of Indonesia, like equally to New Delhi, in India. Okay, you know, New Delhi is a top university. Malaysia, like all this lah. So we work, and after work, we publish. We go for the award. We bring our research, our publication, We won medal not only in Malaysia, in Seoul, in Geneva, and also very active, energetic, power, like your age, like 30, 32, 33. I'm running like go, and but family was important. I was taking care of my family, not just left them. Otherwise, my son cannot be a top student in a school. So I also taking care of my family. We are like work-life balance, but I'm enjoying. Until now I'm enjoying. Sometimes you guys can see our face very young, because we don't have stress. We enjoy. We like holiday. We're having like research is a part of life. Enjoying the research. Publication also enjoying the publication. Until now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say to you, until now, my age almost coming to the 56, I'm going to retire. Still publishing scopus. Still publishing a research book. Still publishing. I still got a grant. Last year I got 3 grants from the industry, for the government grant. And this both grant that we got it, we think in the room also we got my student, Miss Naza. She is as a young professor, and we both work together with other scholars. Another my colleague, Dr. Ganesan and Dr. Jaya, Dr. Jaya, Jayaraj. Dr. Jaya already get about 1 million grant from Euro, and equivalent to 5.5 million ringgit Malaysia, that is working closely between European Union and also Perak state government. Already won. So all my colleagues, all my friends, all young lecturers, they're all like 30, 40 like that. So I'm become a mentor for them. So it's come from research, So my latest publication, you can see that still published. And this is actually a collection of research papers we are published in Indonesia. So I all the way down I published in Malaysia, and of course other international publication like Cambridge and so on. But I also going to directly to publish industry or policy related research. And this book was published in Indonesia and was launched by minister. So the publication must go to the policy maker also. And this is a new area, new topic. So when we do research, we always go for new and advancing ourselves. So, research cannot be separated from the publication. So how publication will come in from the good research. That's why when you want to become professor, or I'm talking full professor, what they call by merit, by merit professor. That means you are really expert on the field. People already recognize me. Even today, this morning, my Vice Chancellor already recognized, say Prabala is an expert in the industrial relation and wages in Malaysia. Even the government will recognize, and even the media will recognize. Even my colleagues recognize that I am actually expert on this field. So because why I start when I was young age, I focus. So when during your age now, I only publish as many as we can. Sometimes the publication might be not scopus. Those days no scopus. Those days go on the index journal. Or not index journal. Only scopus start only 2010 or 11. Later only they will talk about it. But before that, no. Before that, so we keep on publishing. So my boss is actually Dr. Ganesan teacher, professor in history. So he's my boss last time, Professor Dr. Koseng Ahmad. He is very good at writing book, writing articles. So he always advises, don't worry, just writing in even paper you start writing, even magazine you start writing. Then you slowly go up. That's why we started. He encouraged us, like what I encourage you all. He become a mentor. Now we all become your mentor. So don't stop publish, but don't stop get a grant. So there's a lot of grant around the world. If you work together, like India is growing big country in the world. So there will be a lot of grant from Japan, from Europe, from there. They will give. They're interested on the research in Asia. Let's say I'm actually thinking on the come up with the one research between India, Indonesia, Malaysia, and maybe some other countries. So looking at the one issue, maybe something issue I'm studying now. So we're going to have a big grant like what Dr. Jaya already managed to get 1 million grant. And even though he's younger, 40 years old or that, I learned from him. I said, you also my guru. And you need to talk about this. One day we invite Dr. come and talk about how he managed about 65 researchers around the world. Imagine 65 researchers around the world in the one big project. That's really amazing. And we are working in a team. Actually, we are working in a team. And he always said, I learned from you also, Doctor. I said, okay. So that's a key publication. So sometimes your PhD, your master's turn to be publication. Like here, I got my PhD student, Ms. Dara here, and Ms. Naza here. We She's a young scholar, but we are working as a team. And my student is always ready to work together. We are as a team members. Anytime, any minute, we work together. Although we are online, we communicate, we do a lot of things. We are applying grants. So I got a good team surrounding with me, including Dr. Ganesan. So we all work in the different field, but we are doing something on that. So on the desk, you can see a lot of publication. Not it is only part of that. Recently, the government appointed me to come out with the one policy book. I'm the lead in the country. So we are going to write about the history of the wages in Malaysia for last 10 years. This book will be specially launched by the minister and probably may go to the prime minister. So you must achieve your life on that level. You're not just focused on Scopus. Yes, keep on going Scopus, book chapter, publication, but eventually you go up to the national level. You must put your name in at India, like expert. You're expert in the entrepreneurship. You're expert in the innovation. You must go to your state, like Tamil Nadu. You must be, the chief minister must recognize you, like us. Our prime minister recognize my field, and also the minister recognize. They want a lot of ideas. So you must do something like that. Then how they recognize you? Of course, through your publication. All right. So I am very good on that kind of publication, like policy book publication, and then like academic publication or research publication. Of course, journal articles, Scopus, so on. Every year I'm updating myself, right? So I didn't stop. I'm already become professor. It is my 11th year become full professor. Okay, but publication is already my part of my life. Sometimes I write short article. Me and my student Naza, we are writing a short article every month. We publish under the National Human Resource Center. That one read by the practitioners. So your article also must read by practitioners, not only by scholars around the world. But I keep on telling you, go to the good journal, select the good journal and publish that journal, Scopus, ISI, doesn't matter. But a lot of people will read on your field. So your colleague will know about that. How I can publish paper in Latin America, in US and many countries, even Philippines and all this, because first of all, when I was young like you, I spent a lot of my own money. I didn't ask so much from my university, okay? Maybe my university is funded only half, but I used my own. Because of my investment during your age, like 20, 30, 35, like that, today I become professor. The investment earlier, now give back to me. So you can see on world map, I've been traveling all over the world, everywhere, from Asia to Latin America, North America. I went for the Europe, the most European country I visited. I do my research, collaborative research in Denmark, Finland, US and so many countries. And of course, I study in Australia for my PhD. And also I'm penetrating just this year, early this year, I published one book with my former student in Zambia. And a brother-in-law is working in an embassy in Kuala Lumpur. He brought the book to me, and we work again. We were going to work many research together on the many. So from the world map, you also can travel all over the world. And I was sponsored many travel grants sponsored by the international body like ILO, like government from Korea, from Japan, from Europe, in many countries, right? So I got a lot of, so I invested a lot of my time and energy in it. But eventually my keyword, actually you need to enjoy your life. So this picture can see clearly as academic scholar, read, write, rinse, and repeat. But at the same time, my advice to you, take care of yourself. Your health, very important. Take care of your family, very important. Make sure your kids, everybody you're taking care. You're close with them, your wife, everything. Your siblings, all of us taking care. When you someone achievable already in the society, give back to society. And that's what I did. Give back to the community, give back to society, give back to all my knowledge, going back to the society, community, including family members and so on, including my friends, including my students. I share my knowledge. I want them to be like me. So those, I say, like aircraft. When you go inside an aircraft, I am actually pilot, senior pilot. You are co-pilot. So I say, I invite you co-pilot, sit next to me, you fly. And the rest of them just follow me. So I say, if the flight take off, that's it, you miss the flight. And the flight just take off, you go somewhere. You cannot wait for the flight to come back again. You will take off, that's it. So I told my PhD students, so I got a 26 student with masters. I said, only few active, there was no active. It's up to you. The choice is yours. You want to follow me, I will be there. I'm the captain. when you take off, because I've been traveling most of my life actually traveling by aeroplane. It was already 11 years from Kota Baru to KL. I don't know how many times I fly, and I fly everywhere. So I learned a lot of things from the aircraft system. So the aircraft is something that everything ready, punctuality, diesel. So the research also like this: you must read, you must write, you must rinse, you must repeat. Again, there's a circle, So, but you must have your own society, community. Like I and Dr. Frank, Dr. Ganesh, we all talk, laugh, humor, and we always like family members, huh? So, for my conclusion, I will make like this: the whole publication corpus or whatever I impact journal will come from this. So the topic that we're going to formulate. In my case, I know a lot of topic that industrial relation. I know literature review, and literature review will be 5 years because I'm also examining the thesis of PhD masters for last 10, 11 years. And tomorrow I got another Viva, so I'm actually examining qualitative and quantitative. I recommend it normally to go in publication. Out of my even India, I do a lot of examining the PhDs in India also, in many countries. So formulate a question, select the design, and qualitative or quantitative, collect data, interpret finding, and publish. That is how the whole circle, very simplified. I was talking about this, okay? So I think for my short discussion, this is my email. So take my email. We cannot share on the screen of the Google Meet, but you can take a photo, and please communicate with me. If I can't do anything, I can connect you to other people, and you can work as a team. That's why I bring one of the book I'm editing with Dr. Frank, and also a few of us, Dr. Jaya and also Dr. Ariana from Indonesia. Different countries already submitted the paper on the research method in multiple discipline. It's very good book for you, for your student to read. Multiple discipline, we are writing different field and different experience. They're sharing the experience about how they come do the PhD research and so on, masters and so on. And the book on the process, I think already finalized. And Dr. Frank will be sending me, and maybe we're going to publish. So this is a very unique book in the world that we're bringing scholars from Africa, India, Indonesia, and also we are bringing our own family members. Most of the book come from Western country like Australia or New Zealand, or but I think that our community also must be highlighted and our own problem highlighted. And this is a book that I think I want to present to a whole community, not only in India, in Africa, in Asia, and all this I want to present to them before I go to retire. And this book going to be a very special book for those really want to know how to do research, qualitative. So we are going to launch the book, but we don't know when the book complete. So we are already in the final stage now, and I got about 15 articles collected. How all this come from? Actually, from this webinar I started. So I like really especially thanks to Dr. Ganesh and also Dr. Frank and Dr. Regina to allow me to give opportunity to bring other scholars. I'm not just go by own as a captain on the flight. No, I also bringing my team together with me. We fly together. So during the flight, there will be turbulence, there will be, but at the same time, there will be food to serve on the flight, and we're enjoying, and we're going to land it in the one destination. That is our completion, our task. So I think most of the young lecturers collaborate with me at the back of me, not only University of Malaysia Kelantan, but many university, private, and also I bring private and also public university. Not only one university, but multiple university, multiple discipline, and multiple method, and we're going to give a way for many people struggling, don't know what to do, how to do, everything in that book. So this book is very unique, and idea come from myself, innovation, but helped by others, including Dr. and others. So with that, I really thanks. And again, I'm here as a friend, not as a teacher. I'd like to share with all of you, and I think we can do together. So you already take my contact numbers. So we have to do. So with that, I think Dr. Ganesan, I will pass to you again. Hello, Dr. Ganesan there? Gino, are you there? So I'd like to say goodbye. I have something to do, Dr. Mr. Gino. Tomorrow I got PhD Viva. I need to prepare for tomorrow doctorate. So again, I would like to say goodbye. I'm opening officially this international webinar. under the Lavender Literary Club and Cap Comorin Trust and also Malaysian Industrial Relations. I'd like to say thanks and I'll say goodbye. See you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir, for very informative talk. And dear participants, we are moving to second session. And our speaker is Dr. K. Sasirega Mukas Manikyam Ramaswamy College of Arts and Science, Madurai, Assistant Professor. She has 20 years and 9 months of teaching experience and organized national and international level conferences, workshops, FTPs, and also chairperson for paper presentations and working as a language consultant for stylics, proofreading, and editing. Published research papers in 10 international journals, presented 17 papers in conferences, and also working as a research supervisor. Published 2 book chapters. Dr. Sasirega handled 17 technical sessions, submitted 3 project proposals, and also member of ELTAI, Indian Society for Technical Education. We are very glad to have you, ma'am. I hand over the session to you. The session is yours.
Hello, everyone, and thanks, Mr. Gino, for introducing me to this session. And glad to be part of this Lavender Literary Club and for this virtual international conference on the umbrella term research writing and publication. Today, I would like to take up my session on the topic about how to make a presentation, whether it is, there is a difference between a research paper and conference paper. That's what I wanted to share with the participants today. Let me share my screen to make the presentation. I believe that my screen is shared.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. So the topic for today's presentation, as I said, it is research writing for conference paper or journal paper. That is going to be the for the topic for discussion. And I would like to give you insight regarding the difference between a conference paper and journal paper. And many properties of a conference paper and journal paper are similar. Still there are subtle differences, and the way we work out for both the stream is going to be little different also. That's what I would like to concentrate on today's presentation. And before knowing the difference between a conference paper or a journal paper, let's understand and let's be very clear about what is a research article writing. So whether it is a conference paper or a journal paper, it will come under research article writing only. And this research article writing demands certain academic qualities and academic nuances. And we are going to see all those things together using this as a platform to know better about research writing. See, actually, when it is a full research, it will talk about the holistic development of our experiment or our survey, and it will give the final output. So it is a very elaborative work, hence we call it as a research, full research. But when it comes to a conference paper, journal paper, it's not going to be a elaborate session. Instead, it is going to be using to take up or focus on a single concept. See, for example, my full research may be on syllabus redesign. When I want to make it as a presentation for a research article or for a conference paper, I may not be continue with the same syllabus redesign. I'll be taking any one part of it. in the sense, I may have for syllabus redesign, when I'm talking for language skill development, English language skill development, for my full research, I might have been included LSRW and some other micro skills also. But for a paper, research paper, or for an article, I need not integrate all the skills together. I can take up a small segment of my research, like speaking alone, what are the speaking activities alone, and the modules which I developed for enhancing the speaking activities of the students, speaking skills of the students. Like that, when I make an attempt with a small segment of research, that could be presented as a conference paper or as a research article. Though it is a segment of a research, or with the conference papers or research papers, or a kind of a mini version of our complete research. And we have several steps. We have several steps regarding the research research period. So over a period of time, it varies from 3 years to several years. There we will be using a theory also as a part of our research writing, article writing. So very particularly, we have to identify a suitable theory to write about our research. So when I take up a part of a segment of my research to write it as a conference paper or else for a research article, I have, as a researcher, I have to talk about the theory which I'm going to apply. If it is not a theory for engineering or science candidates, you could replace it with the application of a theorem or an application of a law or else an application of a software or else an application of a kind of coding based on different domain. We can think of which could be equated the word theory, the concept theory. And as I said, see, research writing involves a selection of a theory or else a justification of the software. When this says selection of a theory or a justification of the software, it means very simple. I told if it is a kind of theory-based paper or a field study paper, non-experimental paper, then there won't be a need for or else the role for a software. Whereas if it is a laboratory-based research or else if it is a experiment demanding research, then definitely it involves a software also. So why a particular software has been used to proceed the research has to be justified in the whether it is a conference paper or else a research paper. Maybe to make it more clear, I could the one software which I could remember is see, for automobile engineering, there is a specific software called CAD, I guess. So when you take up a kind of research on automobile engineering, naturally the researcher has to work out with that particular software in detail. So that way, which the closest software which we are going to use or this theory which is so applicable to our research should be justified. Then research article writing involves investigations, experiments, studies. And outcome of all these would be a camera-ready research paper of about 3,000 to 7,000 words. It varies from journal to journal. A few journal demands you to make it for 3,000 words, whereas a few journal relaxes the rules and it accepts papers about 7,000 words also. It's all, there is no hard and fast rules regarding the page limit. It is based on the publication and different publishers. Fine. So this would have given you an idea about what is a research article writing. Research article writing is a part of our thesis writing. And instead of focusing on the whole experiment or the whole study, we will be taking a single concept. That's the reason. That is ideology behind research article writing. And to make you understand, I told it is a small segment of a research. Though it is a small segment of a research, it involves a theory or else a software or else a list of experiments or a study. With this only, we will make it as a research article. Now, a conference writing. Yes, conference paper is also a part of research paper. Almost, I understand that most of you might have pursued your doctorate or else in the process of pursuing your doctoral degree. So what I can say is publishing conference paper and publishing research article in Scopus indexed journals or high impact journals are part of our research work. They call it as coursework also. A coursework is not just papers or not just domain-based papers. It includes participating in workshops and symposiums, presenting papers, writing papers for different articles. And presenting papers in conference, in different conference, writing papers for different journals. That is a good research start for the researchers from any field. And the advantage of a conference paper is it's time bound. When I say time bound, we are going to have a discrete timeline. The conference, the organizers in the invitation in the brochure itself would have indicated submission of abstract a particular date. Then acceptance of abstract another particular date. When our abstract is accepted, the next step is providing our full length paper. Again, a date will be mentioned over there. And when the conference is over, they'll be publishing the conference proceedings, or else they are tie-up, they had an association with some journals, our paper will be published that way. So it is time-bound work. Time-bound work in the sense, from writing till publishing, it is a time-bound work. That is one biggest advantage when we publish our research article in conferences. As I mentioned earlier, whether it is a research article or a conference paper, it is a miniature of thesis writing. So we follow the same elements, the same mechanisms while writing the research article. And in the next slide, we are just going to see the research writing again and why conference paper. Yes. So conference paper versus journal paper, choosing the thrust area, aligning the thrust area and part of the study experiment. So, okay, the example which immediately pop up in my mind is artificial intelligence. Let's take up a particular researcher is taking up a research on artificial intelligence. So nowadays, almost artificial intelligence is involved in our day-to-day activities also. Even without knowing whether it is artificial intelligence or something else, we also keep using artificial intelligence, right from the simple device Alexa to unmanned vehicle, cars also. Yes, everywhere we could see the involvement of artificial intelligence. So I could choose the thrust area. So though I name it as artificial intelligence, a broader terminology, my thrust area would be might be on domestic appliances. How artificial intelligence plays a role in domestic appliances itself. So that might be my thrust area. This is what I mean choosing the thrust area. And my whole research may be on domestic appliances. I need not take up the full work as my research article or my conference paper. I could further cut short it to kind of that nowadays it's a very popular gadget, the cleaning robo. So the robo which cleans the floor, that could be taken as my thrust area to make my research publication either for conference or for journal. I believe the practical example given over here would have given a kind of insight for the participants to understand the difference between the whole research writing and a small part as research writing for conference or for journal. And I believe now it's simple for you to understand what is the thrust area also. So once aligning the thrust area, we will be doing it with the part of the study and experiment. And roughly speaking, a research paper or else a conference paper is going to have these components. That is working title, abstract, keywords, introduction. Introduction should definitely cover the objective of the paper, research question, hypothesis, rational statement of problem, then literature review, research methodology, research tools use, development of paragraphs, findings, conclusion, and reference. This is how, this is what we call it as a paper layout, research paper layout. So we start with the title of the paper and our article will be submitted with the reference. And I keep insisting and I keep repeating this point. Scientific writing, research writing is a scientific writing. It will not come under creative writing. It will not come under kind of memory writing. It's a very scientific writing based on the insights, inputs, which we gained from different experiments or appropriate studies which we have taken in our respective domain. And the previous slide talked about the paper components, and there when the layout has been discussed, when the components of a paper was presented with these elements, working title. So working title is nothing but the keywords of the research to be used in the title itself. And a little grammar point over here, strong verbs could be used and auxiliary verbs like, how to say that, can, may, and that sort of auxiliary verbs should not be used in our title. Then it cannot be considered as a working title. So when you frame your working title, make sure all the research key terms are brought in the title itself. And an example what I could give again over here is, we started using artificial intelligence as a kind of example. So for better understanding, I can retain the same study. So artificial intelligence and agriculture in foreign countries, that may be a domain of a particular researcher. So the title could be Role of Artificial Intelligence in Agriculture. Instead of making it as open-ended like foreign countries, I could say in Japan or in Canada, the country where I'm going to make it as my topography for the study. This is what I mean by working title. And abstract, again, a most important component of a research paper. See, abstract is again a very holistic presentation of your paper, your ideation of a paper in a paragraph. So since it is the overview of the paper, our entire paper idea with what is going to be the part of the study and what is going to be the finding, everything has to be included in the abstract. And abstract can be, again, it varies from journal to journal, but mostly they expect 300 words with key vocabulary used over there. So an abstract will not be complete without keywords. Make sure to use keywords also. Then introduction, where a researcher will concentrate and write about overview of the research design, research methodology, and its significance. These three subtopics need to be covered under introduction. So in the introduction itself, a researcher should give what is going to be the research design. Almost all details that need to be presented in the introduction itself, the complete layout. Then the research methodology involved in it and why that particular methodology has justification of the research methodology should also be mentioned in the introduction. And always when it is research, it cannot be generic, and slowly it has to take up a very specific position. So it is not repositioning from generic to specific. The title, right from the title, the entire study should be more specific. So that way we should narrow down the scope of our research also. And in introduction itself, the research objective and the research question in the minds of the researcher should be mentioned very clearly. Then a research methodology, we all know that it is whether a data is going to be collected or else it's going to involve a field work or else a set of experiments in the laboratory, whatever it may be, it has to be mentioned under research methodology elaborately. Not just mentioning the names, how and how long period, along with the timeline, it has to be mentioned under research methodology. Then literature review, this is the start point of any research for any researcher also. We start then, see, the moment after registering our PhD, it would be like a blindfold process for all the candidates. Only after taking up literature review, we will come. If I have to say correctly, literature review would be an eye opener for any of the researchers. Till literature review, it would be like for every candidate, it would be like a very confused state of mind. Guide says, whenever we meet guide and the discussion, she gives us, will give some insight, but it will not give any clear-cut idea. But once after deciding the title and other things, if we start reading the existing researchers, the earlier researchers, it could be books, research articles, or from any resources, then we'll understand, okay, this is what they call it as, this is what they have done in the past. This is what my research to go about. This is what I have to find out. And once again, yes. So that is how literature review is the start point, and the thorough reading would make us to understand how to take up or which direction your research should be proceed. That clarity we can develop based on our literature review only. So to put it in a nutshell, reading makes a full man, and research reading and literature review is very much integrated. Research reading, when it comes in the form of literature review, would be a torch, or else would be a guiding force for a researcher to proceed with the entire research. And the data collected, or else the experiment done in the laboratory, is going to be another research methodology. That is what the findings, the interpretation of the experiments, the study of experiments, the readings you have taken, or else if it is a field work, the interpretation of data analysis, all those things will come under after your literature review. It comes under part of your paper. Then literature review would have given the earlier works and how you are going to move about from the earlier researchers, and for that, to support that, you would have collected the data, or else you could have conducted a set of experiments that you would have presented in the form of interpretation of data analysis, or the methodology, not just methodology, tools used, or else the study of your experiments in some suitable title, you will justify it. And as an output, there is going to be a finding. Finding always can be a summation of our whole thing, or else you can suggest or recommend, and it how the researchers should proceed with the see, for example, again, if you are talking about the role of artificial intelligence in agriculture, as a researcher, you can suggest whether it is cost effective, and or else is it will it move, will it be curtailing for employment opportunities, whether it is suitable or unsuitable. All those things could also be suggested as a researcher, and that same way, like recommendation also. And the summary of your entire study, the entire study, and the future scope of the study should also be mentioned in the findings. So that is the way we should there is going to be a connectivity with the existing researchers and the future research, and that's why we call it as research also. That's why we call it as a scientific writing also. Otherwise, there would be an end card for our research. And I said we would have, the reference. See, reference is always, it varies, and we have standardized patterns, that is MLA, APA, IEEE, and these things are there to give us reference. Coming back, why conference paper? See, a conference will be organized with a specification of thrust area. So there, the thrust area would be clearly mentioned. That will give us a clue for a researcher. Fine, let me take up my paper on this title. That thrust area has also been mentioned, and it will be a kind of, sometimes if it is multidisciplinary, always it's good to work with the other interdisciplinary researcher also. So the thrust idea, we will be clearly mentioned in the conference theme. So that is one advantage when we write for conference paper. Then time focus, as mentioned earlier, it is going to be strict timeline. Otherwise, we human beings tend to prioritize our commitments, and probably for due to different factors, the least importance may be given for conference papers, research works, and for any academics matters. When it comes as a conference paper, there is going to be a discrete timeline. So naturally, we will fix on to that and we can make it on time. Better clarity about the proceedings of research. And mostly, the conference papers will be published in the proceedings of research. It is not going to be, it is not just going to, sometimes if they associated with the publications or publishers, it will take a time. Otherwise, if it is going to be proceedings, then it is going to be very immediate, and that is also accepted as part of our coursework. So it is easy to get it published in proceedings. Then, since it has undergone a plagiarism and a blind review or a peer review, it's easy for us to take up the paper to a journal publication. So everything is specified, phased work, and review feedback can be incorporated immediately. And one thing is, conference paper, since it is meant for conference proceedings, the plagiarism percentage is slightly higher. They accept around 30%. Yes, so that is another advantage when we submit a paper for conference. So let's see what is the review process involved, and what is this plagiarism check, and why it is important for the researchers. See, scholarly journals, they accept only 15% of plagiarism, and conference proceedings, it goes up to 30% nowadays. And plagiarism checkers are institutionalized also. Yes, and it could be software based, and it is automated. And a few names of software names have been mentioned over here. Technical universities mostly follow Virkun, and deemed universities and premier institutions, they use Turnitin, and open sources or Scribble, Grammarly, and premium version, pro version, and open versions are available for these plagiarism checking websites, tools. So whether it is a conference paper or a research article, it's very clear. It's very evident that there shouldn't be a plagiarism. And plagiarism is viewed very, very seriously. And it is like simply using others' idea in your name. So let's see what are the guidelines as a researcher we have to follow to avoid plagiarism. Maybe we can call it as research ethics also. And see, while we use sources, while we incorporate materials from different sources, track your sources clearly and cite it appropriately. You would have, and engineering candidates might be aware of it. IEEE format recommends numbering the citations also. Like wherever you use or a reference, you will number it 1, 2, 3 like that. Then under work cited or references, all those things to be acknowledged. So it will not come under plagiarism. Then to avoid plagiarism, yes, a punctuation mark should be used as per the format suggested, as per the guidelines given in the conference proceedings, or else sometimes the journal would itself recommend a certain procedures. If we follow that, that is also another way to avoid plagiarism. And any conference or else any publication from any journal, they would have their specific abstract, word limit, paper format, everything is going to be there. So as a researcher, based on your domain, based on your research area, based on your thrust area, you could read at least a dozen research articles from that particular journal. See, for example, if you are going to publish your paper on TESOL journal, then at least 10, 12 papers from the TESOL journal could be examined, could be read, and it is going to be a kind of multitasking. So it will be comes under writing, review of literature, and more clarity towards your research, and you will understand the writing mechanism by reading several papers. And instead of doing it in different phases, if you do it in a stretch, if you do it with a strict timeline, it's very easy for us to understand the journal, what the journal expects from the researcher's end. And right, this might be appears very old-fashioned, but still any researcher, yes, can write originally. So again, it sounds little old-fashioned, or else it may sounds very conventional, or it may be outdated, but still I recommend, instead of typesetting, you could write something. Then write, then you take it to your typing everything using the computer. When we write, naturally, that is the only simple way to avoid plagiarism. You think, you write. So it's going to be correlated that way. But when it is computer, you would have kept many windows open, many tabs open, almost the sources which you used for reading and referring. So naturally, something we call TV as an idiot box. The same way, when you keep your computer open and keep many windows and tabs open, instead of writing on your own, when you look at the window, you will tempt to copy paste it. So instead, close the computer and please write. And another way to avoid plagiarism is paraphrasing and rephrase. Here I would like to talk about open sources again. There are websites, there are tools like Quillpart and paraphraser.com kind of open sources are there nowadays to paraphrase the sentences. And it's okay to use such tools, but it will not be, once again. It will not be advisable to just like that paraphrasing or rephrasing using such tools, because your idea will not be rephrased. Just your sentence alone would have been rephrased over there. So maybe once after rephrasing or else a paraphrasing, the statement would have some other meaning also, which you might not be aware as a researcher. Yes, so even if you use nowadays, almost everybody started using such open sources to paraphrase the text or else paraphrase the sentences, a paragraph, paid versions, premium versions, or whatever it may be. But once after paraphrasing, if you check that, you will be shocked to see the variations from the original text and the paraphrased one. Anyway, it is an kind of, though we call it as artificial intelligence, it could equate words to words. It cannot equate ideation to ideation. Please understand, your research idea, any artificial intelligence cannot be understood properly, because it is, in any machine has its own limitations. So when you go for paraphrasing and rephrasing using a tool or else using open sources or in using some website like Quillpot and other thing, it is going to rephrase your sentences, but it cannot rephrase your idea. So if you use it, because I have seen, we have to accept the reality. Many researchers started using such paraphrasing websites, but the danger is it just paraphrase your words, equates your words, it summarizes your ideas, but that will definitely will not carry the original flavor of your research writing. All right. So finally, as a researcher, it is in your hands whether should you go for conference proceedings or journal article. Both are important, and both forms a research track. And if there is a pressing need for publication, is like you're going to submit your thesis in another 2 months. Before that, your guide expects you to have 1 or 2 papers published. Then the advice, my personal advice, research tips otherwise, is go for conference proceedings. The biggest advantage is the timeline only. No, there is no pressing need. You could wait, and you really mean to see your paper getting published in a research article, that too high impact journal. Then you just write your paper in such a way, make it full free, and make it camera ready paper, and make sure there is no plagiarism. And if everything has been acknowledged accordingly, and it is not paraphrased, it has been originally written, then definitely you could go for identify a journal, suitable journal for your domain, and you could go for it. And when, if it is a conference proceeding, we can make our own judgment. We can make a small analysis whether the host institution, check for the host institution, their reputation, their department, and who is organizing, whether it is a sponsored program from UGC or AICT or many funding agencies are there. So you could check for all those details. See, checking all these details and rating it, reviewing it, will have an research advantage for a researcher. It will serve as a clue for your speedy publication. That's why I'm asking you to check for who is conducting, which department is doing, and organizers, and always organizers' details are going to be there. So as a researcher, we could always interact with the organizers, and we can very well find out whether they could stick on to the timeline or not. Based on that, you could decide. And so it is the option given to the researcher, whether it is a conference paper or a publication. You have to decide it. And when it is a publication in journal, and as a researcher, please be aware of cloned predatory journals, and it could be checked with the organizing secretary of a conference. Then these are all word of caution. Once the paper is full-length paper is published in the conference proceeding, the full paper cannot be republished in a journal or else as a research article across anywhere in the world. Instead, you have presented just your abstract and the full-length paper has been retained. And so abstract would be presented in the conference and the full-length paper, it is with the researcher. Then there is a possibility of publishing the same paper to a journal also. I believe I am making this point very clear to the participants. See, if the paper gets published in a conference proceeding, that's the end of your publication part. The same paper, if it has been submitted to any other journal afterwards or aftermath, cannot be considered. Then it will show 100% plagiarism, though it is your own work. Since it has been submitted to another forum, yes, that's why I hinted you, it is not any of these works is not a manual works, it is software oriented. So the software will not understand this is your work. What it has is the database. Already the particular title would be there in the database. So when it is, even if you make some changes here and there and resubmit it, it will not accept it because the whole thing was there in the database. So if the full paper has been published in the conference proceeding, don't resubmit the same paper to a journal. Maybe the idea could be retained and the different experiment or with the different dimension, the research article could be rewritten and it could be submitted to the journal, but not the same thing. And nowadays it has become a kind of business when they conduct a conference. In the brochure itself, they would state select papers will be published in UGC Careless, Scopus, H-Index, this, that, and all. And if you are keen and if your paper got selected for the publication, based on your time, based on your paying ability, you have to make your preference very clear with the organizers. Yes, I want my paper to be published in Scopus. Yes, I want my paper to be published in UGC Careless only. Then the next orientation for the researcher is, when we go for UGC Careless or Scopus or high impact journals, then there is a review time. No journal, no scholarly journal will work out for less than 2 months period. So if you have the luxury of spending time for your quality work, may state the preference clearly to the organizers. And it involves money also. Reviewer, they'll be charging a reasonable amount. So using that only, mediators or minting money for getting, I could make your paper published here, there, something of that kind. Don't do it that way. Instead of that, we can straight away make a deal with the publishers. And there also, definitely if it is a cloned journal or predatory journal, they'll be charged it is going to be expensive. And if it is reasonable, you will, that is another way that it is not a cloned journal. And the review process goes this way: peer reviewed, blind reviewed, double blind reviewed, and all these things you have to understand, and you have to give the you have to respect the timeline for review process. And it is going to be if your paper has been selected for publication, then there is going to be a communication, email communication. So it's between the paper, the research author, and then the publisher. So you check and track the thread, and you cannot rely on your doctoral committee members or else your PhD guide, or nobody could help you. Yes, it is your research, it is your paper, it's going to be your publication. So the communication between you and your publisher, so you make it that way and proceed it that way. And official checking the journal data in official database is another simple way to check whether it is a predatory journal or else a original journal. And again, this is another insistence, repetition to reinforce. If you want to simply make it present, go for conference. If you want to publish, then go for journals. This is what, as a researcher, I could give a tip for today's participants. And it is always our right. Participation, presentation, and publication. This is the process. So to begin with, attend conferences, observe how people are making presentations. So research has many tracks, and one track is attending conferences, workshops, symposiums, and observing how people are presenting their ideas. So maybe you could take over a 6 months period to just see, observe. So that could be your participation period. Then till the end of your, till the final phase of your research, you could go for presentation. Presentation, conference, so you could present abstracts, and a few papers you can present it in the conference proceedings, and a very important papers, based on the weightage you could decide, and you can reserve those papers for publishing in journals. And it is not anybody instead of you. Nobody can decide and nobody can tell. This is not something buying a kind of a dress. You could buy it here. Oh, this is you want to buy it for 500 rupees. Go to this shop. Go to that outlet. Nobody could guide you that way. It is your work. So you are the master to decide it, and see to that whether the guidelines are followed very carefully, and it involves the part of a coursework, and accordingly you could decide. This is what this presentation meant for today's discussion or presentation, and I'd be glad if there are questions from the participants. With this, I stop my presentation. Thanks for the opportunity. Now the forum is open to ask questions, and we are just moving for Q&A session.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, what is blind review or double blind review?
Can I? Yes, ma'am. Tell again. Sorry, I couldn't get it.
Ma'am, I want to know what is blind review or double blind review?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the presenter's details will not be given to the reviewer. See, I may be reviewing Chandrahasini's, your name is that one, right? Chandrahasini's papers, but your details will not be given to me. The presenter's details will be removed, and that is a blind review paper. Got it, ma'am? And simultaneously, if it goes to two different reviewers, one X and one Y, then we call it as double blind review.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, good evening, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Ma'am, myself, Dr. Jaiprasad. Ma'am, when we are going for CAS, ma'am, when we are changes for the AGP and everything, the collegiate education or Department of UGC, they are going to raise the question either it should be peer-reviewed journal or it should be go for UGC care list journal. There is any difference between these two, ma'am, peer-reviewed and UGC care list, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Because peer-reviewed, even institutions can have peer-reviewed journal. See, for example, in your institution, with some ISBN number, you can also go for publication. That we call it as peer-reviewed journals. And it is not necessary peer-reviewed journals have to come under UGC care list. So in the journals have to be indexed and it has to come under UGC care list. That we can check it in the website itself. And that is also not going to be a fixed list. Periodically, it will involve some changes. So this year, a particular journal might be included for UGC care list, and next year it could be removed. That's why I'm asking you to check for the official website database. Am I answering your question, sir?
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ma'am,
Thank you, ma'am.
good evening.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, is all UGC care listed UGC listed journal is Scopus journal?
Your voice is breaking, so I couldn't get your question.
Ma'am, is all UGC care journals are Scopus journal? We can say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. UGC care list classifies it rates the journals like A list, B list, C list, like that. So there are chances for A list journal to come under Scopus also. It could be Scopus indexed also. It could
Ma'am,
be
then,
high impact journal also. Yes.
okay. Then, ma'am, what difference between a UGC care listed journal and UGC approved journals?
Sir, I believe UGC is confined within India, though we invite papers across the world. It has been approved by a University Grants Commission. Scopus
Indeed.
is something global. So it is just
Okay.
the outreach only. Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for very informative session. Dear participants, we are moving to the third session, and our
Yes,
speaker
my
is
pleasure.
Dr. P. Harshini, former professor, Department of English, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, University, Chennai. She is also an editor and content writer. Presently, she is working as assistant professor of English, PG and Research Department of English, Ediraj College for Women, Chennai, India. We are very glad to have you, ma'am. The session is yours.
Am I audible? Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much.
Good evening.
Thank you. So I think I can start my presentation. Just give me a few minutes to share my screen.
No, ma'am, my screen is not shown.
Is my slide visible?
Yes,
Is my
ma'am.
Yeah,
slide
sure, ma'am.
Visible.
Yes, thank you. See, dear participants,
Yes,
uh,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm really grateful to Kate Cameron Trust and Lavender Literary Club for giving me this wonderful opportunity to present this important topic before you all. So this topic is about strengthening academic writing skills, a global perspective. So what we should be doing to strengthen our academic writing skills? Many people do not know how to write a proper research paper uh, or thesis or whatever. When it comes to writing, they stammer actually. So I would like to give you an outline or overview of what things are to be kept in mind to write an effective paper or write an effective thesis. Okay, so I hope this presentation will be very much useful for all of you present here. Okay, it's a global problem actually that many of us are facing. And as the editor of really more than 300 papers, thesis, synopsis, and so on, I have understood how much people suffer when it comes to writing a research paper. So I would just like to highlight what important things we need to follow to make our academic writing skills more effective and efficient. Okay, so the first, I would like to start with this quote: "Write without fear, edit without mercy." See, whenever you start writing, you always feel like you will not have any idea, or you may not get the proper sources, but still you need to write because your academic performance is based on your research publication, your promotion and everything rests only when you publish an article or go for higher studies, okay, like doing your doctorate and so on. So you are under compulsion that you have to write somehow. So what I'm suggesting is you just write without fear. Whatever you have in mind, you just write. Whatever it is, you just have important sources with you and write. And also edit without mercy. See, when you're writing a research paper and when you feel that when you go through it and when you feel that certain sentences need to be avoided, you just cut it off. Okay, if you feel that it won't be correct in a research paper, just cut it off and go for the next line. See that your research paper meets all the expectations, okay, because you are a writer and you are going to give it to the readers to read. Okay, so your paper should have all the qualities needed for a perfect research paper. So write without fear, edit without mercy. Okay, so introduction, the building blocks. Okay, so what are the building blocks? A language has thousands of words. Okay, the task of words is to perform different functions. Some words are for expressing action, while some others are to express things. We all know that words perform different functions. There are also some that joins one word to another word. Okay, that they are called building blocks of a language. So words are called building blocks of a language, such as a house. When you take up a house, you build a house with many different parts, right? Concrete for foundation, bricks for walls, window frames for windows, door frames for doorways, and cement to join all together. Words are used in framing a variety of sentences. Each word has its own job. Okay, each word in a sentence has its own job to perform, and you need to see that you frame a sentence properly and write without any grammatical errors, punctuation errors, and with proper sentence construction. That is what you need to do. Okay. So the next slide, words with more than one function. See, I've made this presentation very, very comprehensive because no, I want each and every one of you to understand this topic very clearly so that next time when you write a research paper, you will follow all the guidelines that I have stated and make your research paper a perfect one. Okay. So words with more than one function. See, there are many words in English that have more than one function. As a professor of English, I myself would agree that English is such a confusing language. One word would mean so many meanings and it can be used in different ways. Okay, so there are many words in English that have more than one function or more than one part of speech. For example, work. To take the word work, it can be a verb and a noun, but can be a conjunction and a preposition. Well can be an adjective and an adverb and an interjection. The word but alone has 6 jobs to do as a verb, noun, adverb, pronoun, preposition, and conjunction. Okay. So when you see this example, now you will clearly understand what I'm trying to say. Actually, the word, if you take work, as a noun, it says my work is easy. But as a verb, it says I work in a government department. Okay. These, for pronoun, these are good students. Okay, as an adjective, it says these students are good. Okay. Likewise, each, some, either, but, well, afternoon, all these words, they have different functions to perform. Okay, some may act as a pronoun, some may act as an adjective, some may act as a verb, some may act as a noun. So there are different functions of the same word. Okay, so that's what this line means to say actually. Okay, then. So what actually, when it comes to academic writing, what are the major things we need to avoid? See, the first thing we need to avoid is personal nouns, then directives, informal conversational tone using slang and idiom, wordiness, vague expressions, descriptive writing, personal experience. So these are the things you need to avoid in academic writing, because as far as academic writing is concerned, it's going to be a very formal document. Okay, so when it comes to a formal document, your teachers would have already taught you in school what is a formal letter and what is an informal letter. In an informal letter, you write as you like. Okay, you use subjective form, you use descriptive words, you use personal nouns, you use vague expressions. It doesn't matter at all, because the letter which you're going to send is going to be read only by your closer people. Okay, whereas when it comes to formal letter, you need to follow so many rules. Okay, the same thing goes with academic writing. When it comes to academic writing, there are certain things which you need to follow so that your paper looks like a very formal and well-read research paper. Okay, then. See, practice objectivity in writing. Many people, as in my experience, I have noticed many people, what they do is they use subjective form of writing. Actually, what is subjectivity and what is objectivity? See, the subjective style of writing gives personal opinion. Okay, like when you're writing something, no, when you say I have said this or we have done this, it is subjective form of writing. The subjective style of writing gives personal opinion. It is a personal interpretation of the topic used. The objective style, on the other hand, is entirely fact-based and unbiased, and is based on reviewing many aspects of an idea. So it is always better to practice objectivity in writing, and I will show it through some examples here. Okay. So, and what actually, in what form of writing you will use subjective piece and subjective form, and in what actually you will use subjective is like a blog or editorial. When you write a blog or you write an editorial, you can use subjective form. Okay. Whereas a news article, no, even though the reporter has gone there and he has found that particular news, he doesn't say, I found this news, I found this, I saw this accident. Okay. He writes as if this a news piece. Okay. So most professional writing, including journalism, is objective. Okay. I would feel really hurt if someone passed on personal information about me without my knowledge. Okay, I would feel really hurt if someone passed on personal information about me without my knowledge. This is what we call subjective form of writing, whereas objective form, community workers must follow ethical conventions so as not to undermine trust. So this is actually very formal way of writing, whereas the previous one in red, no, it is subjective form of writing, which you should avoid. Okay, then. So academic writing should be literal. Actually, words and phrases used should operate according to their actual dictionary definition. Quite often, slang and colloquial phrases from speech are not literal. Okay, so it is generally accepted that election campaigns go the extra mile in their final weeks. Okay, so what is the slang here? Go the extra mile is the slang. Okay, what actually you should write? See, in green it is correct, in red it is wrong. So you can identify easily. It is generally accepted that election campaigns go the extra mile in their final weeks. Actually, it's wrong. Slang is used. Whereas the formal way is generally accepted that election campaigns increase their efforts in their final week. So this is how you have to write actually. Okay, so it should be literal. Then slang and colloquial phrases should be seriously avoided. Then, so what actually we mean by avoiding slang and colloquial language? See, academic writing is very formal. This doesn't mean the use of difficult, complex sentences or words where simple ones should serve the same purpose. This doesn't mean that you need to use flowery language, flowery words, okay, to make your writing look more and more purpose, serve the same purpose. Okay, so it is making sure that no inappropriate informal language like slang is used. So all these expressions which I have given here is actually the ones where slang colloquial language is used. That is why I have given in red. Osama bin Laden was a bad dude. So you can easily find out where the slang is, where the colloquial languages. Okay, then the company, in an attempt to cut costs, fired 5% of the workforce in 2004. This is then my second sentence. Third sentence, most of the research cited here concludes with the question, how come only 2 hearings in Parliament have been held about this issue? Third one, then analyzing the tendency of pop music to borrow from dance genres from a postmodern standpoint limits conclusions. The scene has never really focused on that kind of stuff. Okay, so Bradshaw decides that conclusion is clear. To promote more the so you actually will not limit grammatical mistakes. There are no spelling errors, there are no punctuation errors. Wrong and wrong. What is wrong with slang and this? So I'm just taking and what actually is Osama bin a bad normal. You yourself you read sentence you under this kind of sentence the mean bad word the better way. Okay. So this is not right. A very formal even though okay. I think there was some interruption. My slides stopped showing, I think. Sorry for the interruption. Am I audible? Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Okay, sorry for the interruption. 1 second, please. So, are you able to see this? Are you able to see this, participants?
Yes,
Can I have
ma'am.
an answer, please? Are you able to see this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so most of the research cited here concludes with the question, how come only 2 hearings in Parliament have been held about this issue? So what happened? What is the problem in this sentence? In this sentence, the problem is the informal phrase, one that comes directly from spoken English. It looks as if you are speaking something. Okay, it's perhaps harder to spot. Many people will not spot it actually, but for certain reviewers, they will definitely point it out and they will tell you that this is a slang colloquial language. Okay, so it is the forming of a question with the words how come. Going back to our idea of literal English, we can see that the phrase how come does not really mean anything. Okay, so think about what the question is actually asking. How would someone actually ask the question? Why have only two hearings been held? Most likely, this can be used to replace the word phrase how come. Instead of using how come, you can use it in a different way. So, how can you use? Most of the research here conclude by questioning why only two hearings in parliament have been held about this issue. Okay, so this is a simple way of writing. Instead of writing how come, okay, why do you unnecessarily put a question there? Okay, so that is what actually is the problem with this sentence. Okay, many people will not notice, but certain reviewers will point it out and they will definitely ask why you have used this kind of phrases. Okay, then analyzing the tendency of pop music is to borrow from dance-based genres from a postmodern standpoint, limit conclusion. The scene has never really focused on that kind of stuff. So this sentence now has two colloquial words or phrases, both in the second sentence itself. So first is the word inappropriate in academic writing. It is not literal and is also vague and informal. Okay, the phrase kind of stuff is even vaguer and makes the problem worse actually. So analyzing the tendency of pop music to borrow from dance-based genres from a postmodern standpoint limits conclusion. The contemporary fan base of popular music tends not to focus on concepts like this. This is the way you need to write. Okay, the scene has never really focused on this kind of stuff. Instead of writing like that, you have to write the contemporary fan base of this of popular music tends not to focus on concepts like this. This is how you have to write. Okay, then next one is I think we'll have to move faster, so we'll go for the next one. See, sidestepping emotive language. See, emotive language is not at all allowed when it comes to academic writing. So, academic writing involves making points based on evidence. So, you all know very well that based on evidence only you have to do your academic writing. If there is no evidence, then your academic writing will not have any value. Okay, it will look like a self-made article. So, some words and phrases can be emotive in themselves. So, emotive language tends to be subjective like colloquial language. So you need to avoid this kind of emotive language. The more practice one develops for an objective writing style, the more naturally he can avoid emotive language. So when the more you practice for objective writing style, the better words you will get. Okay, the words below surround emotional rather than logical arguments. What are the words? Horrible, disgraceful, disgusting, incredible, magnificent, dire, tragedy, wonderful, illicit. So these are the words which sound emotive that can be avoided. Okay, then so avoiding contractions. See, this is the mistake many people do actually. Just to make work easier, they use contractions, which is actually wrong in academic writing. A contraction is one word made up of two or more words that have been joined together. Some letters from the words are left out and replaced with an apostrophe. Okay, so what actually instead of cannot, people write as can't. Okay, instead of will not, people write as won't. He is become he's. Okay, then should not become shouldn't. There will become there will. So this kind of contraction should be avoided. You need to write it fully. Okay, avoiding contraction is a must in academic writing. Then avoid laboring points. So what do we actually call by laboring points? In academic writing, use as few words as possible to make a point. Actually, don't make it too lengthy because people will feel bored when they read a lengthy sentence. Okay, they will not understand first of all what you're trying to say. Actually, a novice reader, no, when he is going through your article for the first time and when you make your sentence too complicated, definitely you'll find it very, very difficult. So your article should be in such a way that it caters to all sections of readers, from novice to an expert. Okay, so these individual words should be as straightforward as they can be without being informal or inappropriate. Okay, and they should be put together in a way that makes your point effective and easy to understand. So clarity is very, very important. So what actually this problem in this sentence marked in red, and the same sentence in a correct form, simple way is marked in green. So I'm just reading it out for you. You can understand. So to succeed in obtaining and achieving the highest possible marks in assignment, students must engage in a genuine and concerted attempt to conduct extensive research, devote much time to the planning process, and finally ensure they are entirely comfortable and confident with the rules of grammar. Okay, so this is the sentence actually. When you read yourself, you feel like as if you are reading without a break. Okay, so how can you change it? Better way. To receive the highest possible marks in assignment, students must research effectively, spend enough time planning, and make sure they are confident in grammar. Simple. Okay, very big sentence, made simple, and this is how you need to avoid laboring points. Okay, then using elliptical construction. So what is an elliptical construction? An elliptical construction is the sentence from which one or more words are omitted for the sake of conciseness. So when you avoid one or two words, for the sake of conciseness, then we call it as elliptical construction. This kind of omission is also called as elision. In other words, it is also called as elision. The meaning of the shortened sentence should still be clear, however, based on the surrounding context. So according to the sentence, according to the context, you have to use elliptical construction. Not for all the sentences, this can be used. Please understand. Okay. So the positive control exhibited an increase of 14%. The negative control exhibited an increase of 3%. And the experimental group exhibited an increase of 16%. So what is actually wrong with this sentence? How can we write it in a better way? This sentence is wordy because the phrase exhibited an increase of is repeated in each of the three clauses. See, this is actually something which many researchers should note. Okay, so when you use this kind of clauses many times, you can make it as a single one, and and then it can be followed by the rest of the important words. Okay, so I'm just going to read for you how it can be formulated. So to make the sentence more concise, this phrase can be elided from the second and third clauses. So elliptical construction, the positive control exhibited an increase of 14%, the negative control 0%, and the experimental group 16%. Instead of saying exhibited an increase of again and again and again, you have used it only once and you have stated all the other important points. Okay, so this is what we call as elliptical construction. Okay, then. So removing unnecessary prepositional phrases. The common examples of prepositional phrases that can be abridged include in order to. In order to, instead of using in order to, you can shorten it and write to. Okay. Then with regard to, you can replace with regarding or concerning. Okay. So this you need to keep in mind. You may avoid unnecessary prepositional phrases and make it as a single word. Okay. Then incorrect pluralization. This often occurs with words that do not change regardless whether they are singular or plural. Okay, for example, see many people make a mistake in the word equipment. They feel that equipment is singular and equipment is plural actually. So actually it is wrong. Equipment itself means plural. Okay, the word equipment implies more than one item. Non-native English speakers often write equipment. Actually, we know what we do is we often write equipment, which is actually wrong. We need to write as only as equipment, which is more when it is more acceptable to write pieces of equipment. You can write pieces of equipment instead of writing piece of equipments. Okay. Then another example is the term research, which can be regarded as either singular or plural. Research is neither singular or plural, is one word. Okay. Several researchers do not conduct different researches. Instead, they do research. Different studies. They do different studies to carry out many research efforts. Like that, you have to write instead of writing researchers. Okay, then which can be found in the literature, and you should not write literatures. Okay, so this is incorrect pluralization which you need to avoid. Okay, then use of same word phrase repeatedly. See, the level of comfort someone has with the language is very, very similar to the level of comfort a pianist has with his or her instrument. See, for example, when you're learning an instrument for the first time, what you do, you will be, you'll have the fear and you will just go only according to the rules. Okay. Whereas when you become an expert, you need not follow any rules at all. You know what keys to use, what keys not to use. Same thing. Same thing when you use the words repeatedly. No, in the starting you will not understand. Maybe when you practice writing a lot, you will understand which word to avoid, which word should not be repeated, and so on. Okay, so that is what they're actually trying to say in this. Instead of writing the same word again and again and again, you need to practice. It will not come all of a sudden. Only when you practice writing a lot, you will be able to avoid this kind of repetition. Okay, then read out loud. See, read out loud is very, very important. Get yourself into the shoes of the reader and read your writing. You see, you're not writing for yourself. Please understand that you're not writing a diary. Okay, you're doing a research paper. You are writing a research paper. You are writing a thesis which will be read definitely by many people. Okay, and from your research, they will carry out many research. Okay, so many studies. Okay, so get yourself into the shoes of the reader and read your writing. You need to understand your writing from the reader's perspective and not from your perspective. Okay, this is a good chance to improve what you're communicating to your reader. So when you read out loud, no, you will understand what necessary words we have used and what necessary words we have used and which to keep and which not to keep. Okay, read out loud or read silently like a reader to yourself to find out if there's some unnecessary repetition. Only when you read out loud, you will understand if there are unnecessary words which you have repeated unnecessarily. So this is the best way to find repetition and to correct it. Okay. There are other benefits as well of reading out loud, and this is the best strategy to find any mistake. So there are other benefits also of reading out loud, and this is the best strategy to find out if you have made any mistake. Yes, ma'am. Hello. Can I continue?
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
problem? Okay, thank you. So use synonym words. See, synonym words, that's what actually for avoiding repetition, no, you have to learn to use synonym words. To avoid the repetition of words that are too common, use synonyms. Okay, you can take the help of synonyms. Okay, you type in Google. If you just type the word in Google and type synonym, it will show you how many different words you can use instead of the same word. But you need to be very careful when using that particular word in the sentence. Okay, it has to match with the sentence. That's very, very important. You just cannot take any word and put it in the sentence saying that this is the what I thought of. Okay, that word has to fit the sentence properly. Sometimes one word fits in several paragraphs. Also, that one word is not the best every time. So that you need to keep in mind. For example, the word study or to study can fit in one place, but if written again and again, it will not fit in every place. Okay, so the word to study can be replaced with, you can replace to study with analyze, to interpret, to examine, to understand, to examine, to know, etc. Okay, it is better you note down this point so that you will not forget later on. Okay, so synonym words are very, very important and they will play a significant role when you are doing your research paper. Actually, I have benefited a lot from synonym words. Okay, you can also be benefited provided you make use of them properly. Okay, then see, edit and remove unnecessary details. See, it is always best to edit the work any number of times to check for mistakes or redundancy. Redundancy is instead of saying historical past, actually history itself is past. No need of saying historical past. Okay, you need to write it in a better way. That is what we call by redundancy. This usually takes a lot of time. Actually, for people who have just started to write, it will take a lot of time actually. But that is how you become better writer. Okay, only by practice you will be able to become a better writer. This usually takes a lot of time, but it's always successful at the end because it helps to find mistakes that were not so as obvious when writing for the first time. You would not have been clear about what mistakes you would have made when you wrote. Okay, when you first wrote, but when you read again, you will find out what mistakes you have done and you will edit it later on. There is no use keeping anything that is unnecessary. Please understand, even though that paragraph you have written everything to make it a beautiful paragraph, if there are any unnecessary sentence, you need to cut it off immediately. Okay, whatever is unnecessary is not needed for the paragraph at all. You can replace it with a better sentence, much more informative sentence. That is what actually I'm trying to say. Okay, Keep writing simple, precise, and concise unless asked to write lengthy details. Unless and until you are asked to give lengthy details, please keep your writing short and simple. Keep your sentence simple. Don't make it too complicated so that people can't understand at all what you are trying to say actually. Okay, then fix run-on sentences in writing. See, it is agreed that researchers want to convey a lot of ideas. Actually, when it comes to researchers, they'll have so many things in mind and they want to convey everything in their writing. But when writing, you cannot simply run a string of ideas together or fuse two complete sentences into one sentence. You must find ways to convey these ideas while using proper grammar and sentence structure. See, the simple sentence I'm telling you, okay, this is actually subjective form, but just to make you understand, I'm giving this, okay. So I first became interested in biology when I was 10. I want to be a biology professor at a university. So what is actually the problem with this? I first became interested in biology when I was 10. Stop it. Then I want to be a biologist at a research university. This makes it more formal. I first became interested in biology when I was 10 and I want to become biologist at a research university. This makes it very clear. Okay. So this is fixing run-on sentences in writing. Okay, you need to fix it properly. Then, how to use respectively correctly. See, many people have confusion how to use respectively in a proper way. Respectively means separately and in the order already mentioned. For example, if you're writing about two things and if it corresponds to other two things, then you use the word respectively. Okay, it is used when describing two or more items that refer back to the previous statement. It should only be used if a sentence would be unclear without it. See, people know they unnecessarily use respectively just because they need to use respectively in academic writing. Okay, they feel that if they don't use respectively, their article will not be good. It has become a trend like that, but they don't know whether they are using respectively in a correct way or not. So please understand the proper way of using respectively, and accordingly you can use it. See, examples of incorrect use of respectively. There are two things, okay? Trimethoprim and methoxyl are selective inhibitors of CYP2C9 respectively. What is the need of using respectively here? Reason this is incorrect because there is only one item, CYP2C9, for two items, trimethoprim and methoxyzole to correspond to. There are two items, but the respective thing is only one. So what you need to do, you have to avoid respectively. It is not needed at all. Then highly selective radiometric fluorescent sensing for Hg2 plus and Au3 plus respectively in aqueous media. So reason this is incorrect because there are two items, Hg2 and Au3 plus, for one item, highly selective radiometric fluorescent texture to correspond to. Okay, so removing respectively would not change the meaning of the above two sentences. Therefore, it should not be included. So if you feel that you should not use respectively, please do not use. Okay, only if it is much needed, you have to use. Otherwise, please do avoid it. Okay. Then use of punctuation for respectively. When you use respectively, what kind of punctuation you have to use? If at the end of the sentence a comma is placed before respectively, you need to remember that. Okay, if at the end of the sentence, if respectively comes at the end of the sentence, you need to put a comma. Okay, the aperture and beam efficiencies were X and Y, comma, respectively. If in the middle of the sentence, respectively is placed between two commas. See, the aperture and beam efficiencies were X and Y respectively at a beam width of Z. So this is how you need to use the punctuation mark for respectively. Understood? Okay. So avoiding informal sentence starts. So what actually is this? Some words are acceptable in certain contexts but become too informal when used at the beginning of a sentence. You can replace these with appropriate transition words or simply remove them from the sentence. Actually, taboo. See, also the participants were in agreement on the third question. Why actually you need to use also? Instead of that, you can use moreover, furthermore, the participants were in agreement on the third question. This kind of informal sentence start can be avoided. Okay, you can make it more formal. That is what I'm trying to say. And instead of using so, you can say therefore it can be concluded that the model needs further refinement. Then and, instead of starting the sentence with and, you can just say the participants were all over the age of 30. Okay. Then instead of besides, you can say additionally, we all asked all the participants to sign an agreement. Okay, so this informal sentence starch can be avoided and made more formal by using this kind of words. Okay, then being too unsophisticated. See, using too many simple terms can make your writing feel elementary. So take care not to overuse. See, what is actually a bad result? What's a bad result? Instead of writing bad result, you can say a poor negative result. Okay. Then big humongous, a big sample. Instead of that, you can say a large sizable sample. Then get this model gets attention. This model receives attention. Give this chapter gives an overview. This chapter provides, offers, presents an overview. Then a good example, a prime example. Show the below figure shows the below figure illustrate, demonstrates, reveals. Okay, so these are the kind of words which you can replace instead of using bad, big, get, give, good, show, and all. This kind of formal word can be replaced. Okay, then evading exaggeration. So what actually is exaggeration? Academic writing is usually anodont and direct. You need not, that's what I said, told you at the beginning, you need to avoid flowery phrases because no, it has, the reader actually should get your point correctly instead of being impressed with the words you use. That is actually not the purpose of academic writing. The purpose of academic writing is to get your point clear and to make your research more effective. Okay, they have to understand what you're trying to say instead of being attracted the words which you have used. Okay, please don't divert them in that way. Academic writing is usually anodont and direct. Some adverbs of frequency, such as always and never, superlatives, terms that indicate something is of the highest degree, such as best, and intensifiers, words that create emphasis, such as very, are often too dramatic. Okay, they may also not be accurate. You are making a significant claim when you say something is perfect or never happens. So instead of putting always, never, researchers always argue that. Instead of putting always, argue that, you can say researchers frequently or commonly or typically argue that. Okay, so this kind of exaggeration can be avoided and can be replaced in a better way. Then instead of writing perfect, best, worst, worst, most, the perfect solution to the problem. Instead of writing perfect solution, you can say an ideal solution, one of the best solutions to the problem. Okay, then very extremely really too. So this theory is extremely important. Instead of writing extremely, you can say this theory is important, critical, or critical. Okay, so this kind of words can be used for better writing. Then use gender neutral phrases. This is very, very important. Many people question this actually. Okay, so there are many common phrases and words that are use the word man. Okay, for example, mankind, manpower, a man, man, a project. Okay, when earlier days, though, this was not given much consideration, but now people question this actually. Why actually it has to come like that? So just better safeguard yourself and use a very proper way. Like instead of these words, try to use alternative language. For example, people, workforce, staff. Okay, instead of manpower, that, this, and all, instead of using gender phrases, so you can use this. Okay, example for bears, the chairman disagreed. Correct revision, the board member disagreed. So this will be the correct way. Okay, you can safeguard yourself from kind of gender neutral phrases. Then you can use gender neutral phrases. Then keeping wording parallel. See, keeping wording parallel is like where the man and female turned out to be the directors of the Red Cross. What is wrong here? You have stated man. Then how come it can be female later on? See, while man is fine on its own, paired with female, it is not parallel. That is what we mean by parallel wording. Okay, additionally, female should not be used as an adjective, the female participant, not as a noun like in the sentence. Instead, always use man with woman and male with female, and only use male and female adjectives and man and woman as nouns. This is good. This would be the correct way of writing a sentence. Okay. Then, see, better, the man and woman turned out to be the directors of the Red Cross. This would be better way. In this sentence, the parallel terms man and woman are used. Also, female and male are not used as nouns at all. Okay, so please keep this in mind. Then, The most common subject verb agreement error. Subject verb agreement error is most common mistake people do in research writing. Okay, so when a subject of a sentence consists of a complex noun phrase, forming the verb according to the noun directly in front of it may be tempting, but it is almost always incorrect. Okay, see for example, the mood of Beethoven's late quatrain. Because you have got quatrains there, you immediately feel that it should be plural verb. It is actually wrong or somber. Then second one, abnormalities in the cell governing the inflammatory response of the organism causes eczema. What is wrong with this? I'm going to explain now. To ensure that your verb agrees with the subject, ask yourself which single word in the subject is truly controlling the verb. Actually, which is the subject that controls the verb, that you have to understand. You should not worry about the next words. Okay, you have to understand which is the subject that is controlling the verb, and accordingly you have to make your subject verb agreement. If it is plural, the subject is plural, then the verb should be plural. If the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. So that is how it has to be. See, the mood of Beethoven's late quatrain is somber. So which is the subject controlling? Mood is controlling. So mood, they're not quatrains. Okay, so you have to put is only. Okay, then abnormalities in the cells governing the inflammatory response of the organism cause eczema. So you have started with the plural subject. So you have to, plural. Okay, so you have to use a plural verb. Okay, abnormality, so cause. Please understand. Okay, so this is the most common subject verb agreement error, which I find in almost many research papers, thesis, and all. Then avoid redundancies, as I told you earlier. Another easy way to make your writing more concise is to avoid redundancies which occur when the same idea is being expressed twice. Okay, same idea, but you're expressing it twice. In most cases, the meaning of one word is clearly implied in another. For example, isn't a summary or by nature brief? Summary itself is brief. Then why do you have to include brief again? Could collaboration be done in any other way but together? Collaboration itself is together. Then why again together? Then isn't an import by definition foreign? Okay, import itself is foreign. Then why again you have to use foreign? Then redundant phrase. More example, advanced planning. Planning itself is advanced only. Just have to put planning alone. Alternative choice, you have to put alternative. And etc., you have to put etc. Ask the question, ask. Assemble together, assemble. So this kind of, you have to be very careful. Okay, redundant phrase should be avoided. Then avoid anthropomorphism. This is very, very important. Actually, in academic writing, no, it is best to avoid using anthropomorphism. What is actually anthropomorphism? See, objects being personified as human-like behavior. Objects being personified as human-like behavior, because it causes sentence to be unclear and imprecise. When you give importance to the object, the entire meaning totally changes. Okay, so because academic writing should be clear and direct, it is best to avoid any phrasing that is not precise. If it is not clear, please avoid it. To make sure sentences are precise, be sure that the subject of your sentence is capable of performing the action of the verb. So anthropomorphism. The article from Lassiter and Jones discussed how coffee wakes you up in the morning. See, the article is not performing any job at all. Actually, it is the person, Lassiter and Jones, they have written an article. And they have discussed how coffee wakes you up in the morning. Okay. So the article from Lassiter and Jones includes information on how coffee wakes you up in the morning. So this is the correct way. An article cannot discuss something. Okay, as being able to discuss a topic is a human character. Actually, when you discuss topic, only humans can do that. An article cannot do. So putting the focus on the authors is the way to correct this. So you have to put the focus on the authors instead of the object. Okay, stating what the article includes is other way to correct this. Okay, so this is what we call avoid anthropomorphism. Okay, then which versus that? See, which versus that. When you use which versus that, now be careful not to substitute which for that. Which is different, that is different. Many people think that both are same actually. So the easiest way to distinguish between the usages is that most times which will have a comma before it and will be at the beginning of the clause that is not essential to the meaning of the sentence. Even when you have stated the main sentence, when you add which, it is just an additional information that you are giving. Okay, it is not actually may be necessary or may not be necessary. That is why you're using which, and it has to only after comma you need to use which. Okay, so but that is not like that. That's actually a part of the sentence. Okay, for that you need not put any comma at all. Okay, use that as a part of the main sentence. It begins a clause and that holds essential meaning for the sentence. Sometimes it is not easy to tell correct usage, but the two usages provide a subtle difference in meaning. For example, see the two sentences, you will clearly understand. See, students present with high risk behavior, which is addressed through a therapeutic intervention program. So, students present with high risk behavior that is addressed through a therapeutic intervention program. So, you can easily understand what difference which and that brings. When you are in the first sentence, the first part itself is self-contained, but you're adding which to give extra information about the first sentence. Whereas the second sentence, you're using that to add, to make a continuation. Okay. So in the first example, students present with high risk behavior is a self-contained sentence. The clause which is addressed through a therapeutic intervention program is a description that elaborates and is not essential for the meaning of the sentence. The second example, that is addressed through a therapeutic intervention program, is part of the essential meaning of a sentence. They're defining clause. Actually, they are defining what actually it is and making the meaning more clear. Okay. Whereas when you add which, it is just giving extra information. That's it. That is the difference between which and that. Okay. Then use tentative language. See, leave room for doubt. Don't give like you have to use words like possibly, probably, may, could, etc. instead of using definitely, certainly, must, obviously, because as far as research is concerned, you cannot definitely say that it is right. Okay, some other people may say it may not be right. Okay, so it is always better to avoid this kind of words. Okay, similarly with linking expressions, definitely it is proven that it is always the case that this is an important factor. Everyone knows that. Use tentative language, like it may be shown that it is often the case that this may be an important factor. It is possible to believe that. You have to write like this. This kind of tentative language can be used. Okay, you have to leave little room for doubt. Okay, instead of proving that this would be correct, you cannot always prove in research. Okay, then you may be proving it correct, some other person may be proving it wrong. Okay, so it is always better to leave room for doubt in your expression. Then what is the academic writing process? First, you have to know the topic, you have to read and research well, then outline and plan properly, then start your writing, then review and edit. Okay, this will make your academic writing more formal and it would impress the readers also. Okay, then successful academic writing, you have to analyze the question, you have to think a lot, brainstorm, you have to plan, organize everything properly, then research a lot of things, then draft everything, then edit, revise, and then make it as a final draft. The first four is called pre-writing stage. Okay, then thank you very much. So I hope many of you have understood this kind of this topic, and you would avoid mistakes when you write a formal piece. Thank you for the opportunity.
Good evening, ma'am. It was very useful and it was a very clear presentation, ma'am, given by it, and we'll definitely will make use of this in the future, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions, please? The floor is now open for questions.
Good evening, ma'am.
evening.
Really, your presentation was good and informative and useful. and it was very detailedly you explained everything, ma'am. Definitely, it will help us to do our research work. Thank you so much for your presentation, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
Ma'am, my name is Harshit, and I just wanted to ask, like, it was a very informative presentation, and
Thank you.
if possible, if I can get the PPT of the same, because it was very informative PPT.
Sure, definitely. I'll send it through the organizer and I'll ask the organizer to pass it to the participants. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.